I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It was quite a bit quieter in the last 3 weeks there. And please join us for a moment of silence. Thank you. Item 1 on the agenda is citizen concerns. Any concerns that are not on the agenda that anyone would like to bring forward, please come forward at this time. Doyle, name and address. And
Doyle Turner, 2738 200 Street, Mobile, Iowa. I'm here today because we've been talking about energy a lot in the last few meetings. Mid-American has coal-powered power plants at Port Neal, and I think that they've been a really good neighbor, a really good member of our community, and I think that we should come together and make our voices heard that we would like to see Port Neal stay. We'd like our coal production. It's not that we're against any power or for any power, but in order to have viable economic power, you have to use all the tools in the tool shed. We have some radical voices that are in Des Moines and in Washington, D.C. that are pushing everybody to go one way, and that's how we end up like Texas, with one storm wiping out a huge portion of our country. And I'd like the Board of Supervisors to come up with a resolution that we could say to Mid-American, start a dialogue. Also, I'd like to go to other counties and bring them on board. And I'd like to eventually go to the Iowa Utilities Board, because right now they are leaning the other way because nobody is showing up. I've talked to NIPCO, I've talked to Mid-American, I've talked to members of the board, and we have a very vocal minority that is currently pushing things in a direction that isn't necessarily the best for all of us. I guess my question would be, what does it take to put something like that on the agenda?
what would it be? More of a resolution of support, or would it be, I guess, what are you?
I think it should be a resolution of support. It should be something that should be written in a way that, even though Port Neal is in Woodbury County, it supplies electricity to a lot of counties around here. It should be something that other counties could buy in on.
I guess I don't know who would be the best to draft something like that. It's out of my forte.
I think it might make sense to invite Mid-American either to a board meeting or ask for some updates specifically on their timeline, as it involves different portions of that plant, since regardless, it would help to be apprised of what their timeline is, and if that's all due to the technical abilities of the plant, or some of it's because of the lack of community support or community opposition in some cases. It is part of the all of the above approach that Mid-American mentioned, so it makes sense to give it a fair hearing. No pun intended.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Go ahead.
The other thing too with Mid-America, in the old days, we used to get all the valuation from the utilities. That has since changed about 15, 20 years ago, where the plant is subdivided out into all other counties where their power lines run in. So other counties should be very involved in this too.
Well, it's a stable source.
Yes.
Well, and technology is changing. You know, a lot of people don't like to admit it, but clean coal is a reality, and the things that they're doing are quite incredible with coal gasification. NIPCO actually has a gasification plant where they're taking the natural gas off of the coal and selling that, which at these prices is very profitable. But in in order to be viable long-term, it's not always going to be viable in the short term. But I think we also have to remember that it takes a lot of planning on facilities like this. So I think we need to start sooner rather than later.
Personally, I like the idea Supervisor Young mentions of inviting Mid-American for informational purposes and hearing what the lay of the land is, the timeline, and then responding in kind. So once we have more information, to me, that seems like a measured approach rather than kind of maybe an opening, what they might take as an opening salvo in terms of a resolution to start that dialogue. I think it's a good idea.
And I have had local letters asking us to pass a resolution to ask them to shut down Port Neal as well. So personally, I don't think anyone on the board supports that idea, but I think we do support the idea of, all sources of energy need to be, pursued and supported in Woodbury County.
So who would take it upon themselves to invite Mid-American?
I don't
We
know.
will.
Okay. All right. If we could just stay in touch, and I'll do anything to further this. If it comes to going to other county board meetings, I have no problem with that. But I think we need to really, that's a real resource that we don't want to lose. Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Doyle. Anything else that is not on the agenda anybody would like to bring forward? Item 2, approval of the agenda. I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Next is the consent agenda. Items 3 through 6 constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 3 is approval of the minutes of the August 23rd, 2022 meeting. Item 4 is approval of claims. Item 5 from Human Resources. A is approval of memorandum of personnel transactions. And 5B is authorization to initiate hiring process. Item 6 from Board Administration. A is approval of notice of property sale resolution for parcel known as 102 South Ruston for Tuesday, September 13th at 4:35 p.m. And B, approval of notice of property sale resolution parcel known as 507 Driftwood Street for September 13th at 4:37 p.m. That ends the consent agenda.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Taylor, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to item 7, Sheila, Siouxland Mental Health Center, qualified bank loan informational item.
Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Martin. I'm the CEO of Siouxland Mental Health. Siouxland Mental Health Center is a designated community mental health center for Woodbury County. We were founded in 1969 and have been providing service within Woodbury County and the Siouxland community for over 52 years now. We currently have 6 locations. However, we are running out of space. And we have seen a significant increase in the demand for mental health services, specifically since 2020 regarding the pandemic. We have seen an increase of new patients of 166%. We have 8 patients a day at least walking in crisis situations. And we are needing more space. We have seen a 120% increase in psychiatric medical evaluations and a 108% increase in therapy evaluations. With that being said, that means that we're hiring more staff. Right now in 6 locations, I have 3 offices only, and I am needing more space. We are here for informational purposes only to discuss our plans of having your approval of moving forward with a qualified bank loan through Woodbury County. Our plans are to purchase and renovate an 8,997 square foot building, which is the old Pier 1 building in the Morningside area, specifically to create a child and adolescent mental health clinic. The building will allow us to serve more children and adolescents and create a safer environment for the kids, as well as a more welcoming space, as well as be able to increase promising practices such as animal-assisted therapy, play therapy, art therapy, music therapy, of some of the things that we want to do so badly right now, but we don't have the space to do it. And so that is what we are requesting to do. Again, this is information only. Our next steps, we will be asking for an action item on the September 13th board agenda with a maximum amount we would like to borrow in the qualified bank loan program through the county of $3.7 million.
That's where are we at right now as far as the up to 10 million that we're?
Right
was
now, we
allowed?
have 5.484 million left for this calendar year.
Okay, so
There's-
we're safe
Years.
to do this.
Yes.
I think it's a great idea,
Thank you.
great proposal. Obviously, I'm not going to support it in the fact that to get rid of competition, they've already gone out of business, so I will support it. I'm just saying.
Okay.
The Pier 1 building is already
Oh,
closed.
yes, okay, yes.
So, I don't know, just anybody that thinks things like out there in the public, that was my plan to have them go out of business and put Siouxland Mental Health there. That's not the case. That's just how things worked out,
Yes, sir.
so. But, yeah, I think this is a great idea.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you. It's very much needed for our community.
So we'll see this next week, I assume, for approval?
September
Seven,
13th.
or, oh, I thought you said
Unless,
seven.
I mean, unless it's, do I need to be here for that action item? Because if not, it could proceed to next week then.
They're
September
trying to
6th.
have to do some type of hearing, publication, hearing notice, stuff like that, so 13th probably give them a little more time to get those process rolling.
Okay.
And I think you're gonna use probably
Don't we need board approval first before I proceed
for the
to?
public hearing.
Yes, before the, so we would need,
Yep, you need a hold attorney
Ne-
to get it done.
right, but they would need to approve first before I can proceed with that. So we could
So
proceed
next
for
week, we
9/6
put
for an action item.
the action item for the public hearing on,
Yes.
yeah.
There should be a resolution that comes through the attorney could prepare, and that's an easy one to do. Setting a date, time, all that.
So who's going to get that for us by Thursday?
You'll have to get a hold of the attorney, and he can have it up here, he or she, whoever they get.
Okay. If not, it'll be 9/13.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sheila. Item 8, Mobile Area Medical Clinic. Approval of $250,000 from Arpa funding to assist in construction of the Mobile Area Medical Clinic on Frontage Road in Woodbury County, Iowa.
Hello.
My name is Chris Countryman,
And I'm Diane Dreves.
and we were here in front of you a little while ago and discussed our project a little bit, and you had brought to our attention that maybe some ARPA funds available. We'd like to find out what you know about it and officially ask if we can access those funds.
So,
Any other questions?
I guess any discussion from the board as far as anything on this item? I know we have discussed in open session in the past, and I guess one thing, when do you plan to break ground?
As soon as we have all the agreements in place and the funds begun, are together, then, which we are really close at this point in time, we're hoping that we'll be looking at a spring groundbreaking ceremony.
How much have you raised so far?
We have applied for an REC loan/grant, and if we do in fact receive that, we will have $3,299,640.24.
Because when do we have to spend ARPA by? Is 2025?
Obligated by December 31st of '24,
24.
obligated. We can spend it up through calendar year.
Okay, so we'll have it obligated, and then we can spend it up to that?
So you can go ahead and obligate whatever dollar amount you want, and then we'll write them a check as soon as construction starts, but at least they can put it in their plan, the money is pretty much guaranteed.
I was just making sure it wasn't something like 3 or 5 years out and,
Right, yeah.
No, this is next year's project.
okay. So typically on a fund, or when we fund something like this, we'll hold the funds in a separate fund until, you know, groundbreaking
Until we
or,
break
you know.
ground.
We have other organizations that are similar, where it's more of like a pledge, if you will, just so that we can put it in our financial statements. That would work.
Dennis, I noticed on here, there was a placeholder. Is that calculated in the final balance of ARPA right now?
Now, you actually got to know the dollar amount. What we have available is on the second page, $1,800,000. And that includes the potentials that could or could not happen, we don't know yet.
But it doesn't include this potential,
Doesn't
correct?
include it.
Okay,
Once they give me a number, then I'll plug it as obligated.
okay. So I noticed it's on the agenda for 250,000. I would be supportive of that. I know we've got a lot of other requests out there as well, and a lot of others who have similar ideas in terms of things to be supportive of the county. So I'd feel comfortable supporting that.
I agree.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
So I got a motion by Raddick, second by Taylor. Any other discussion or questions?
Hope we can staff it.
Yep.
That's always a struggle.
It is, but we're already on top of that too, so.
Good.
Well, I got to imagine there's plenty of people that live out in the rural area who'd love to drive to Mobile rather than Sioux City, so.
That's correct. That's correct.
All right.
Good.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9 from Community Economic Development, Dan Priestley and WCICC. Approve request for qualifications process for website development, design, maintenance, and hosting services, Woodbury County, Iowa.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Dan Priestley, Zoning Coordinator. Over the last several months, I've been working with John's office on establishing a request for qualifications so we can begin a selection process to find a new website provider. The website is definitely a key component of all of our workflow, as well as educating the public. And so we've spent the last several months really trying to gauge how staff feels about the website in terms of the overall workflow in order to prepare this qualification document to find that perfect vendor for us. And so we're bringing this before you today to look at it as setting up a schedule to sort of kickstart the selection process.
I would encourage this process, and, you know, from previous work I've sat in on with the county website, it's clear that, you know, we obviously have the expertise to, you know, manipulate sections and improve here and there, but as far as the programming for the back end on several different things that would be useful to everyone, I think it does make sense to bring in an outside vendor. Whether or not it makes sense for us to have a subscription-based service where we reach out to them is something I think we can discuss later. But that kind of depends on how user-friendly it is and who's, you know, designated in each office. I don't want to jump the gun or anything, but I did just get back from ISAC, and I had a very good couple conversations with Neapolitan Labs. I understand they did some work for the election side of the website. And as far as I know, that was a good experience all around. So a couple neat things I think could save a lot of time from our employees' side, you know, beyond just the convenience factor, is situations where you have an improved search function for files, where files are tagged. Instead of, you know, searching only the titles, maybe you can title it how you want in each office, but there's tags that internally we know this shows up in these search results. That's one aspect. The other is when we send out emails for county board meetings and committee meetings, currently there's kind of the tedious process of attaching files and emailing, and then attaching other files and emailing them and keeping up-to-date lists. But if we can have almost like a contact us page where people opt in to receive these emails, and they're generated and hosted on the website, where our board office can simply type in, the message and the file, and it sends a link to the file on our website instead of a separate attachment that needs to be screened that way. I think that also cuts down on a lot of user error and just, user nuisance, I guess. So it doesn't seem like the ongoing cost would be considerable, but just a prop for the process. And I know that's one of the few vendors that have been on your radar, so whether or not they're ultimately picked by this process, I'm just encouraged by meeting one of them. That's all I have to say.
I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Taylor. Any other discussion? John, any other great pitch for it?
No, yeah, I'd like to make a pitch for it. Daniel's done a wonderful job. His attention to detail is exceptional. Other than functionality, my main concern is security. We are on life support right now, and I'd like this to be done yesterday if possible, and I think Daniel, he moved this up the timeline about 4 months for me. So, and it's still 4 months out. So anyway, I'm all supportive of this, and it is budgeted. We do have some dollars put away for that, so we can talk through that as the projects come in. So,
Well, when it's budgeted, it always makes it easier to support, right?
yeah.
Where is this budgeted from right now, Dennis?
CIP, wasn't it?
Right, yeah, it's a placeholder in there, yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you both. Item 10 from Community and Economic Development. A, receive the Zoning Commission's recommendation from their 8/22/22 meeting to approve the final plat of Roger E. Rand Addition, a minor subdivision.
Okay, this is for Timothy Rand and Security National Bank as the personal representative of the estate of Roger E. Rand by Tammy L. Gangon. They filed for this one lot minor subdivision, which includes parcels 8647-102-0002 and parcel 8647-102-0007. Basically, the purpose of the subdivision is like a boundary adjustment to reconfigure the parcel. So it's a one-lot rural subdivision. There were no comments of opposition. The zoning commission sends its recommendation. The county engineer has found it in compliance, and that's what we have.
I'll move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. And item B is accept and approve the Roger E. Rand Addition minor subdivision final plat. Came all the way out here. You want to speak for it too, or?
Well, I represent Tim Rand, just want to make sure it gets done.
Okay.
It was something he wanted to get done before his father passed away, but unfortunately passed away too soon. They never got it swapped out so that the legal matches with the lay of the land is. It's always best to have the drain field on your property rather than neighbors.
Sure.
I will move to accept and approve.
I'll second. Motion by DeWitt, second by Raddick. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. 11, secondary roads, award bids for project number parent B64 to Dixon Construction for $298,190. Went this over by like 12 bucks?
Well,
$2?
actually, Nelson Rock was red low at the letting last week, but they made a math error. That's why when things are close, we go through and double check. And actually, they were second by $800 instead of first by $180.
I guess it was 180, not 12, but still,
Yeah.
it was really close.
Yep.
One of the closest bids I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and when I talked to the gentleman from Nelson Rock, they were understandably upset, but when they saw their mistake, they understood. So.
I know at the city, if you made any mistake, your bid was just disqualified typically, even if it was the lowest, so.
Yeah, and the rules for these lettings are a little bit different. The unit price actually is what corresponds to the final cost.
Sure thing. I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you.
I was just gonna give you a little information on D12. I don't know if you've been getting phone calls. On
Yes.
the closure on D12 and, some little update on that. We are gonna do some dust control on Carroll Avenue and 120th. We're not proposing people use those, of course. They should follow the detours to keep the volume of traffic down on those secondary roads. They're not meant for that type of traffic. But we have to give the residents some relief from the dust. So tomorrow we'll be out there dust treating in front of the homes and the stop signs in the intersections, try to make it a little safer, so.
Could we ask another question on it? Just, the timeline,
I had I had 30 phone calls from Friday till today and trying to explain the Iowa DOT letting rules and how they administer and allow us to administer projects. It is let through the Iowa DOT. It had a late start date of April 1st. We were hoping April 1st would be the beginning or sometime later in the year to make it more of a summer construction. However, that's not the case. But once the contract's signed, the contractor has they may move in at any time and begin the project. So it wasn't our planning to have it done this fall, and it is our hope that it will be open by winter and also towards the end of harvest. I think the mailing that we sent out or handed out said 90 days. That's of course based on weather. So it could be 60 days, could be 75 days, all depends on how quick the contractor's working. We have had a discussion with the owner and superintendent, and they're gonna do everything they can to keep it moving quickly. I would say that most of the public comments were upsetting, but they were congenial. So I appreciated that.
so the detour is the best case option.
Yes, for the amount of traffic.
Okay. If it was less traffic, there might be other options, but,
No, really, paved routes need to be detoured on paved routes.
okay.
Just, based on the ADT, that would not, running in Carroll and 120th for all the cars is just, the road's not built to make head-to-head traffic all hours of the day.
Okay.
But it should be better come Wednesday night and Thursday. I think people will be much happier. Now, hopefully it doesn't increase the volume of traffic because we don't want that. It's still a gravel road.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Thank you.
Okay.
Item 12, juvenile detention approval request for contract amendment with Summit Food Services.
Ryan Weber, Juvenile Detention. Every year we get an amendment from Summit Foods for a pay meal increase. This year's quite a substantial one, like everything else you've probably seen. We're in year 3 or 4 of this. It still, unfortunately, is the only avenue we have in Sioux City that provides 7-day meal access. We have to have hot meals on the weekends. That's part of the law for us, so they're the only one that provide it. The contract will be over the end of next year, I think. I think we'll need to try to find some other avenues because I imagine they'll move out where the new jail is. They won't be across the street from us anymore. So they'll up the transportation costs and say they need more people and this and that. So we'll have to do some thinking then. But for right now, this is our only option. So they're within the limit on percentage that they can actually raise it because we're under the school food program, so they can only raise it so much a year, which they raise it to max amount. So going back in my budget, it still fits, so I recommend to approve it.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion?
Do we get any sort of cost reimbursement from the schools then? That's what you're
We're under the same program
Okay.
any school would be. I've been talking to some of the other schools, and obviously $9 for a meal 3 times a day. We're spending and get McDonald's all they can eat for cheaper than that. So
Right,
it's,
right.
But we have to have, the same Michelle Obama fruit, certain servings of everything. You can only have so much.
She's not the only one who likes
brand.
fruit, right? So,
where it began.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I approve it because this is the best they've ever eaten, and a lot of them lose a bunch of weight when they come to us, and their skin looks better. I mean, they're just so much healthier. So I'm all for the, the better meals than when we used to get what the jail ate. They aged years and months. So I mean, I'm for it, but we're just such a small entity that it's not cost effective, I think, for them to make separate stuff for us versus the jail, So there's going to need to be some planning around that. I mean, I don't think it's cost effective to hire somebody to cook for us. I mean, that's about what our budget is.
Not gonna stick a grill on the roof and
Yeah.
get hot dogs every day.
So yeah, I don't know, we got a couple of years to think about it and see what happens with them in the jail and what their route is there, so.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes
Maybe
5-0.
just order a case of those
Decent.
pieces and,
Yeah, they're not that good. You can,
480 calories.
yeah, it wasn't worth it.
You should be wired by the end of this.
I'm hoping so. Item 13 from Board Administration, approve amending the Baker Group agreement from $5,000 to $10,000 for assisting in ARPA funding, finding requirements. It's supposed to be funding requirements.
Funding.
Yeah. Or finding requirements.
Yes,
Take her away.
Increase from 5 to 10,000. They've been very beneficial to have with us. We meet every second week, every Monday. Every 2 Mondays we meet at 11 o'clock. Last discussion about an hour. And we're getting more in depth on all the ARPA projects we got going. We split all the projects. Each one has an individual identification number. We know all the categories. But when it comes down to 4.2 million, we're gonna have to really depend on them to break this down and meet the requirements ARPA requires to have these qualify, which they should qualify, just the criteria the ARPA want for U.S. Treasury. And we do pay this out of ARPA funds just as we do with the UHY consulting. They're eligible for administrative fees to pay out of ARPA funds, and I do have those in there right now. Be a 5,000, we got the 72,000 in there, be 5,000, raise that to 10,000.
As a percent of the total ARPA funds, what we're spending in the administration side is pretty small.
Yeah. We divide out 82,000 into 20 million, that's a pretty small percent.
How is that relationship going with UHY? Is that good?
Very good.
Okay.
The lady that was there before, we had two, Claire and Heidi. Heidi did resign to take another position for a substantial amount of money more. So now we have directly Jack Reagan, who is the main person there. He is gonna be one of our people with Claire, so I feel lucky we got him. So it's working out very well. We have, conference call every second week, and it works out great. I've sent them already everything I have on the first 4 projects, and eventually we'll send them all once we get them approved by the board. They send in, like the medical center there, they'll send in, I'll turn in what they sent to the board, explain it, and then if they need anything more, they'll let us know. I feel confident with all of these. They've been a great assistance. They're worth their money.
Have they been giving specific feedback on any
Yep.
uses so far?
Yep. Different things that I need to produce to them, which is easy to produce. So, and they gave us a sheet for criteria, and we're meeting most of that also. So she is reviewing the first 4. She sees no problems with any of these, but she just wants to go through them, and Jack wants to go through and make sure we're safe.
Good.
All right, any other discussion or questions?
As far as the quarterly reporting, is only part of that being handled by Baker Group and part by UHY now, or?
Really, myself and UHY is just reviewing it, but Jane and I put it together. And now I'll get more in depth because we really haven't expanded to anything till this quarter. So we're putting the projects as the board approves them. Now this time we'll have all these obligated in the report. End of September 30th, due by the end of October. We'll have all those obligated funds in there. Then we just update it each quarter what we spent.
Okay.
And we have to do a little description of what the project is. That's going well.
All right, anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to reports.
I didn't get maybe I missed the motions.
Oh, maybe we didn't have one.
I'll move it.
Second, motion by DeWitt, second by Radig. And All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you for keeping us in order. Reports on committee meetings? Either of you guys?
I did, as I mentioned, attend ISAC last week. Their top 2 legislative objectives for next year are going to be the emergency services as an essential service, but with the caveat that smaller counties may want to merge as far as the taxes are concerned, but still retain administration, and just working through that funding authority to be fair and equitable. And secondly, of course, is the push to request the legislature to amend eminent domain to specifically not be authorized for the use that we're all aware of with the carbon pipelines. That process is still a year or 2 from reaching ahead, I guess. There's different ordinances that we can look at, and Shelby County, I know, has provided some to us, and maybe run through those later with county staff, but just ways to respect the boundaries of our municipalities as far as factoring in their future expansion as ineligible in the footprint, since if it prevents one of our towns from developing, that's an issue. Also saw Kevin Green there, Mark Nara. Kevin's climbing the ISAC ladder up there. There's discussion about, ARPA updates, nothing that I think we need to report on. A lot of discussion about the hiring crunch and the resignations and staffing issues everyone's dealing with. In counties, of course, we have a heavier on the benefit side than the compensation-based salary side. So there was just a lot of talk about marketing that in the listings and being more prominent about what exact percent you're covering for health insurance and things like that. Also, as we look into a wage matrix update as far as the minimum and max scales, I don't know what to recommend there. There's all sorts of outside companies that will take your money and give you the most, with so much granularity, what you need to do as far as a formula. There was one that presented that had like 10 or 12 different metrics, and you score them all based on education, experience in the job, hours, different things that are all objective, but then you have to subjectively weight them. And then if it's the board overseeing that, there's going to be calls to change it. So some counties have had a citizens advisory group, almost like a comp board for county employees, formed, which sounds very complicated. But there's all sorts of ways to go about this, and all sorts of ways to make sure that you're gauging correctly. So there's also discussion about citizen advisory groups that left me a little encouraged, because I think a lot of what we did for the advisory group on the LEC project was pretty much what a lot of counties were talking about needing to implement for some of their staffing issues and other major projects. So that was good to hear and good to be in that mix. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't let you guys know I'm certified now. I'm a certified county supervisor. There's a 2-year rigorous course, involves lots of stress testing.
I just assumed it involved payment.
Yeah, well, also that.
I was going to say, for 8 years, you've been practicing without certification.
I know,
Really is
for 8 years I've been uncertified.
You're bona fide.
I'm bona fide.
Gonna be a
I'm
little
bona fide
something on your next
certified.
paycheck there, Matthew.
What's that?
Gonna be a little extra something on your paycheck.
Oh yeah, well, I was gonna talk to you guys about that, because I noticed that the 27 pay periods, there's something going on.
There you go.
I don't know if you know about that, Jeremy, but
Heard about it.
we're all gonna plead the fifth.
All
All right, well, certified.
Congratulations, certified one.
All right.
Yeah, I'll get you. All right, citizen concern round 2. Board concerns.
Dennison.
Oh, you got a citizen? Okay.
No, I'll go with the board.
Okay, you can do either one. I don't care.
Well, we got our first opiate check from the lawsuit. That was $68,685. We do get 18 years of this, so over the 18 years, it'd be about 1.2 million. This is the first lawsuit settlement on this opiate. I guess there's others coming about. So what I request from ISAC is what can be spent for and who has authority? The Board of Supervisors and I don't know if they talk about that down there at all. Matthew, I don't know for sure, but
How certified can you be if they didn't talk about
Well,
Now that
I'll
you're
get the answer
certified,
a little
we'd like to know
faster now
about
that
all
I'm
this.
certified. What's that, Rocky?
Now that you're certified, we'd like to know.
Okay, oh, yeah.
You may never hear the end of this, but
Should we move one of those banners for my certificate, or?
I wanted to bring it to your attention that we have another township that is potentially not going to have any trustees or clerks, and it's Little Sioux Township. We've been holding the apportionments. They have not been apportioned to the township since I think June. We did not have a budget submitted. There's one township clerk remaining, and Steve in elections has spoke with him, and I believe he was elected but does not want the position, so they're in the process of getting paperwork in order. We'll keep you appraised to where that goes, but
Is he at least answering emails? Do we have that going for us? Well, I'm gonna nominate Matthews.
I'm gonna second.
Yeah, well, I got a lot on my plate now being certified. It's, I have a corner office, and
Can we combine Grant and Little Sioux into one mega township?
can we combine them all?
The GLS? Yeah.
there is something to be said that you can look into merging it when you're talking about the tax base and everything, because each township, has authority for their own taxes. So if you're merging them, you want to do it in sync with when the budgets are coming out to try to get it so that it's within the same fiscal year that it affects.
Are they? They're probably pretty close to each other, aren't they? They're not?
I don't have the map on me.
Okay.
They're both in Woodbury County.
Yeah, so they're both really close.
Back to Dennis's thing, I think it would be helpful, I know PJ at one time spoke about the uses of the opiate funding and what it can be used for, and also, I don't know if you'd mind reaching out to him and Kevin Green as far as where those funds can actually be dispersed, because I think a lot of them is to mitigate future addiction and so on, and I don't know if Siouxland District Health would have a role in that or not,
I had
so.
2 calls into PJ, but he has not returned them, but he's been busy with a murder trial.
Okay.
But that's over with.
That might be a good committee update at some point, kind of thing.
Maybe it could pay for juvenile lunches so that they're well-fed and don't desire, All right. Any other concerns? All right, with that, we're adjourned.
Oh, did you want to receive another? Yeah.